Yeah.
I have a two-part question. Jim, the first role that you turned down, apparently it was supposed to be a lead role. Does that character still exist on Coronation Street?
A lead role?
Yeah.
He was a lead role.
Oh, don't believe that. That says I did a Frankfurter advert. I've never done it. Apparently I'm dancing around with a big sausage. Sorry, darling, go on.
The second part of my question is kind of a more somber note. Sally Dunbar, who played Sally Webster,
Dinniver.
Was acting while she was diagnosed with cancer, and that was all over the tabloids. And I wondered if any of you have suffered difficulty in your personal lives, and if that affected your acting for better or for worse.
It does happen sometimes, and strangely, and I bet it's happened to everybody along here. There's certain things happen in your personal life, and for some peculiar reason, 6 months later, they sometimes turn up in the storyline. That does happen to people.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go first. So it does happen. Julia will probably explain more about Sally and that, because I obviously have never experienced what Sally went through. But I have been aware a couple of times, bygone days of yore, that things do. And it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it does. It can be divorce. It can be various problems, but sometimes, lo and behold, a year later, you think, hang on a minute, what's this all about? But I'll pass you along the line.
Sally Dinniver is, quite frankly, a beautiful lady inside and out. She really is. She's a superb actress and just a wonderful lady, and she would say it herself, that storyline saved her life.
She did, yeah. She said she never would have gone.
I mean, it does happen. Charlie's right. It does tend to crop up if you have something, I wouldn't say that goes wrong in your personal life, but something that happens to you personally that you wouldn't really want to be sharing with everyone. Unfortunately, we live our lives in a goldfish bowl while we're on the telly there, and these things do happen, and therefore. And it makes good telly, I suppose. But it does tend to happen that, like he says, if something does happen in your life, then lo and behold, the scriptwriters come up with something very, very similar.
I ended up wearing glasses in the show because I was rehearsing in Roy's roles one day and my eyes were tired, so I put my own glasses on. And they were watching upstairs and thought, we don't have a young character with glasses. She can have glasses.
It's true though. It's like I was. One of our Christmas dues, and I sat next to a writer, and he said, what you're interested in, what your hobbies, and I mentioned, the boxing, and next minute I had a boxing storyline. So it does, it can happen, can't it? Like you say, it can.
Let's come down here, one of you ladies.
I have the fortunate job to work with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I work for the studio and remote production people. So one of my responsibilities is I wake up every morning at 5. I start my shift at 7. And I have to cover the sick calls for all the people working in the studios and control rooms. That's for news, sports, arts and entertainment, independence. That's for lighting directors, staging, hair, makeup, wardrobe. There you go. And I've had some very funny stories in my day about sick calls. There was one time one of the technicians came to me, oh, Teresa, we have somebody who's sick and they're in the newsroom and you got to come right away. So I go downstairs and I'm like, okay, where is she? And she's lying on the floor. Mardine, our font operator, and she's looking at this guy, I'm sick, I gotta go home. And I'm like, what the hell? You've been on news on the air since 6 o'clock in the morning. What is she doing on the floor? And I've had calls where people are, like technicians.
Question.
So I just wanted to know if you have funny stories or stories that have held up production. And
I'll tell you one.
And I want to say one more thing. Thank you for the intensity. I watch your show from 7 in the morning till 12 noon, and I need the intensity to get me away from my stressful job. Okay. Thank you. I'm finished. Sorry.
I'll tell you a funny story. Right? Everybody's going to be someone up here is going to say, "What do you drink in the Rovers?"
Oh, it's crap.
Inevitably, somebody's going, "Well, I have to tell you, it's Bass Shandy." Right? It's rubbish. Anyway, lo and behold, mid-90s, Granada do a deal with Guinness. ops guys have got it all, and they're all, yeah, I know how to put bloody Guinness. No, you don't. So they've all got it right, and the Guinness is there, and the day comes, we're all in the Rovers. So eventually everybody got completely pished. So the word came down from the producer's office saying, right, this has got to stop and all this. And I said, oh, excuse me, there's only one member of the cast here who legitimately can drink Guinness. Remember my dresser in those days? You know, Fergie was. You remember the boy with the moustache? He was a raging alcoholic. It was brilliant. We fitted in right together. So there we were, and I remember one day, it was Thursday and Friday. We used to do all the Rovers scenes. So you do all the studio stuff and all the, and then Fridays would be the Rovers, where everybody's in there, you know, drinking brass shandy. Apart from me. I was on the Guinness, and I remember one day, I was fine, and all of a sudden you could hear, cut! Cut! And normally the floor manager is going, yeah, right, hang on. We have quiet, please. Just listening for a lamp. No, it's not that one. Quiet, please. Quiet, please! Time's moving on. It's not that one. It's not that one. And in the background, all you could hear was... And it was my dresser and Deirdre's bed the next set. That was him, sacked, bless him. So it went on for about 6 weeks. He wasn't really sacked, for God's sake. It went on for about 6 weeks, and then the Guinness disappeared, and we went back to Bash Shandy. But I always had a tin underneath.
Was your
comment
whiskey
made
real?
earlier that you said the show's not actually real, but on the 50th anniversary show, the actual visual of the accident and everything was incredibly real. A lot of the visuals aren't on that show, other than just the acting. Some of that, there's no computer-generated imaging in that. That is just basically
Brilliant.
live. It is incredible.
Brilliant.
I think as you say, the producers of the show or the people on set, as well as the actors, do an incredible job.
They do.
Yeah, brilliant.
I'll be totally honest with you, I was doing pants at the time and missed it. So, I'll be totally honest, but the response I got about, you know, Ashley's death and everything else was just brilliant, really. I mean, I was actually in Portsmouth. This is another funny story. And another time when I jumped out my skin, I was walking down the street and this woman just started screaming in my face and jumping up and down. I said, what's the matter? What's wrong? She went, oh my God, I thought I'd seen a ghost. You died last night. But yeah, apparently, I mean, did you see it, Jules? I don't.
Yeah. I watched it a few days after.
Yeah.
I've got a DVD you can have.
How much input do you have into your characters and your storylines as actors? Can you go to the writers and say, I don't think you're putting my character in the right direction, or...
Well, you can go and say it. Whether they take any notice is well, frankly, beyond me. But yeah, I think they come up with, certainly me personally, and obviously Simon, they came up with these two young lads who were a couple of tearaways, really. They'd been around Europe with Jim in the army, and we lived in Cyprus. And when you get all that background stuff into your character, I don't know if it's the same now, but it certainly was then. And they kind of let you run with it, and then they'll mould things when they get some feedback from you as well.
Yeah, you've got to kick in, because they don't know that Stevie was coming, or Juliet. They don't know who you are, what sort of an actor you are, or whatever, because everybody says to me, oh, you know, how did you get so it is, blah, blah, and all that stuff. And the writers didn't know that I was going to be Northern Irish. Yeah. So all my lines were, good morning. I suppose now, what about you? so you build, but as regards going up and saying I'd like my character to have an affair with it, this doesn't happen. But you can stamp your mark on what.
Yeah, you can stamp your mark on it. They I think towards the last time I was there, they were really hot on us actually sticking 100% to the script.
Yeah,
that wasn't ever in Charlie's mind. at all. In fact, Charlie had changed it when he didn't need changing, I think. But yeah, so they do give you a little bit of leeway, and you can go upstairs and you can tell the guys if you think that something's not particularly right. Or of course, over a number of years, you get to know your character, and these writers who do a great job, without a doubt, they kind of come into the show, and you've been doing it for 5 or 6 years, and so you know what your character would do, you know what they'd say and how they'd say it. Certainly, if you're from Northern Ireland, it's a bit different, and so you do get that, but 9 times out of 10, they just do what they like.
Storyline way, but as a character, I mean, you can have a scene that can say play it like this, but as an actor, you can play it a totally different way and show them a different side. So that might lead the writer into thinking, hang on a minute, he's just done this, you know.
Yeah. Simon did that. There was a scene there. And Simon, as you will all know, is Steve, right? And so we've grown up with Simon. He's a brilliant comedian. He's a great actor, but he sells himself short. You won't mind me saying this, because Simon, it's easy for Simon to make everybody laugh. It's easy for him. I remember we did that scene where Jim hit Vernon.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Anyway, ruined the wedding. And